a Zoom series, so it really is open to any woman, and we primarily in the tri-state area. One of the things that I'll tell you more about the program in a second, but I always like to stress that one of the things that I think are so important right now, particularly as we come out of this crisis, is that everyone needs to really get clear of why they have their business, what their purpose and mission is, and what exactly and who do you serve. If you think about the businesses other than yourself that you're reacting well to, you will discover that all of those businesses are ones that you're beginning to feel what really the soul of the business is, the mission of the business, and you absolutely have seen that the business and the business owner has shown something to you that they really care about you. So I like to start with my own personal mission. I actually ask myself every day when I get out of bed 2 questions. And those questions are, first, what can I do today to help women get their fair share of the political and economic pie? I've actually been doing this since I was in 2nd grade. I read a sit-down strike in 2nd grade because girls could not carry the American flag, and I've been in trouble ever since. My second mission, which I really got intensely interested in, started at our last economic crisis. I began to realize when the 2008-2009 meltdown that I knew an awful lot about entrepreneurship, how to build businesses, how to innovate. And what my second question every day is what can I do today to help someone start, grow a business, to innovate, to create new wealth, to create new jobs, to fix a problem on this planet. So I think as you hear those 2 missions, you can realize that I thank you for being here, because it's very easy for me, I hope, to say that hopefully I'll be answering or helping on those 2 missions. I also want to compliment all of you for being here. It is a very crazy time. I'm sure many of you are on Zoom calls over and over and over again. So I compliment you that you're taking the time this morning to think about what I call working on your business instead of in it, which is one of the things that is also so important in this crazy time. Now, this program this morning is a part of a series that's been going on. So just to share with you what we're doing as part of this women's special program is I have been doing, actually up now this is my 4th workshop. I'll be doing 2 more in August, on August 4th at 10 a.m. and August 5th at 6 p.m. And basically what the components of this program are is that the first workshop, I talked about what I felt we had to do to get through this. I'll share some of that in just a second. And the second workshop, I'm sharing the business model canvas, which is a tool that we use at business schools to teach people to get clarity on innovation and what they're doing in their businesses. And then in August, I'll be doing a 3rd workshop, which will be about how to really get a very simple one-page business plan and shape that can be your guide and your map as you come out of this crisis. The other thing, a piece of this program, which I very much want to highlight because I see many new names here, is we also are attempting to put together 2 or 3 groups of women business owners to meet and commit to meeting to begin with every other week to help each other go through this crisis. We're calling them peer learning or peer support or accountability groups. We happily launched our first group a couple of weeks ago. We have 9 fantastic women already meeting for the 3rd time to help each other get through this crisis, talk about their businesses, and share with them. These meetings will go for 90 minutes. Our first group is meeting on Thursday. We hope to launch another group to meet on Tuesday nights. If you have any interest in learning about this, we will have an information session on Tuesday night, July 21st at 6 o'clock, where I will take about a half hour to share with you how these groups would work, what our operating agreement would be on working together, and what our goals of the group are. So if you have an interest to joining with other women entrepreneurs and really commit to meeting with them and learning and helping each other, please come to our information session on July 21st at 6 o'clock. So with that, let me turn to today's topic, which is the business model canvas. And just again, give a highlight of how this fits with what I've been talking about for the last 2 months or so, is our first session that, as you can see by the names, many of you did not hear, was about really what we have learned already in this crazy situation. Some of my key ideas on that is this is not a crisis. I started thinking that this was like a crisis. I call 9/11 a crisis. I call 2008 a crisis. And in those crises, we knew when the bottom sort of had happened. We also had our families that we could still meet. Our children could go back to school very quickly. We could return, most of us, to our workplaces very quickly. So we could start rebuilding and start doing things and have a sense of what was going on at a point of time. I call this chaos because we still have absolutely no idea how long this is going to last, what really is going to happen. 4 things could happen. We could get better fast. We could get better up and down. We could go into a horrible situation in the next few months. Or as I think probably only a few people in the White House believe, is that we could go straight up and have a fantastic recovery. So all entrepreneurs and business owners have to think about what is because somebody puts Kasisha on mute, please. I think we're hearing something. Thank you. Okay, sorry. And so there's 4 scenarios that could happen. So the other thing that I like to talk
Barbara, you're on mute. Barbara.
Thank you, Ivy and Keisha. Okay, now everybody, let me put, yeah, we're okay. Tanisha, you gotta reward me when everyone goes. I think she put everyone on mute. Thank you, Ivy, and I think Keisha, you were trying to tell me that too. Okay, so I think where I went on mute was I was talking about the 4 things that could happen. And so what you missed is I started talking on, but we actually, there's gonna be stages as we go through this. The first stage was definitely that we were all fighting for survival. We had to find out how much money we had. We had to figure out what we could do with our landlords, our banks, our customers, our clients, our suppliers. It was all about learning how we were going to survive. The second stage, which I think most of us are in, is what I call managing the crisis. And what I've been talking about is critical in this stage is that you have to know who you are. And the most important thing that you have to do is hug your customers. No matter where you are and how much business you have, holding on to customers, having a relationship, talking to them is going to be critical to deciding what you're going to do next. And so now what I've ended with my first talk was we really, all of us, have to think about that we are in effect totally restarting our businesses. And how the business model canvas fits in is that this is a one-page piece of paper that we use at business schools when we teach people how to innovate or how to start a business. The way we use it is we answer 9 questions that I'm going to share with you in a few minutes. And basically, we then encourage people to quickly to put together groups of up to 3 or 4 people. And then you start with deciding what is the problem that you obsessively have to solve. Again, I believe that being a great business owner or a great entrepreneur or a great innovator, you have to obsessively love your problem, what your mission is. You cannot love how you're doing it, because all of us, and particularly when we come out of this crazy, chaotic time, are going to have to totally rethink how we are solving that problem, what we're doing. So that is where we are as we get into the business model canvas. So let me now go into a slide mode. I will be talking with slides on probably for about 10 or 15 minutes. If you have pressing questions, put them in the chat box and Tenzin will bring them to my attention. But then I also will be sure to have lots of time at the end of this, and we certainly have an end time of this webinar of 11 o'clock. So let me share slides and let's see what we're going to make sure how we're doing today. Okay, can everyone see my slides? Tenzin, are my slides okay? Ivy, can I ask you? Are we okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So again, for those who missed my name is Barbara Roberts. I didn't talk much about myself today, but I am entrepreneur in residence at both Hofstra and Columbia. And as you can hear with my opening comment, is I'm actually passionate about helping women and helping business owners create innovation, new jobs, wealth, and solution to problems. Very quickly about my background, I worked on Wall Street for many years. I've built and sold 2 companies. One was a stock photography company where we actually, in 1990, believe it or not, when I took over this small little photography agency, only white people were in advertisements. If you saw an ad for beer, cigarettes, cars, banking services, there's some fashion models, but I would say any sort of like basic compute product, you would definitely only see white people. So we came up with this absolutely revolutionary idea that wouldn't it be great to offer incredible photographs of groups of people of all different backgrounds, races, ages, orientations to be working and living together. And we won all sorts of awards in the White House for showing the true face of America. We also created the first technology that put photos on the internet and CDs. And Acoustiguide, my other company, was a company that if you ever went to a museum or a tourist attraction like Alcatraz and took the audio tour, that was our company. I sold both of those companies, and so for the last 10 years, I primarily speak and write about women leadership, entrepreneurship, and work with a lot of particularly family businesses. Most important and relevant to this program is that I also, before this, started Columbia's program for Harlem businesses, which is still going. It's called the Columbia Community Partnership Program. And also for the New York City Economic Development Corporation, I ran a 6-part series for 2 years that was held in all libraries all over the city, primarily talking to business owners who were not born in the United States to share with them how they could build the things that they could take advantage of. So let me just talk about for a second what you are as an entrepreneur and a business owner. And I love this definition that comes from Harvard, and it's the idea that you as an entrepreneur or business owner are relentlessly pursuing the solution to a problem without regard to whether or not you can get the money and the help to do it. That absolutely, I'm sure, was your mood when you started your businesses. And now what we really have to think about is that it's time to get that kind of spirit back. This is a time of chaos. As I said before, absolutely no one knows exactly what the answers are or how this world is going to look at the other side. What that means is that there are no absolutely known right and wrong answers. It also means that it's a time of incredible innovation and opportunity for anyone who comes in with that spirit. I always like to just highlight that you are not a normal person if you started your own business. You have created your own opportunity. Probably when you were started, you weren't driven by money. You were driven to solve a problem. Certainly money is extremely important for existing, but entrepreneurship is really a state of being.
Miss Barbara,
Yes?
people are saying that people are asking you to change the slides. They can't see Howard's quote, I think.
I'm sorry, what can't they see?
Please change a slideshow view. Can't see Howard quote. That's what someone said.
I'm sorry, I can't understand what you're saying, so I'm not.
Barbara, they're asking, it's Keisha. Tenzin is asking if you put it in on your computer, the slide in view mode, it's very small. So they just want you to, if you put it in view mode, it'll expand the slide bigger.
Okay, so I've never had this problem. So do you know where I'm going to find view mode? It's actually showing full on mine.
Barbara, why don't you hit
I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go back to stop sharing. Okay, so let me look at. Okay, so who has a okay, so I have speaker view as my setting. Where do I put a slide view? Does anyone know?
There's a slideshow at the top.
Yep.
Click on that and it should then go to like a full screen on your side and then you'll share your screen again.
Okay, let me try this again. Okay.
And then click on slideshow.
Oh, that's what I did before. I'm going to go to the beginning.
And then,
beginning.
And then click on resume slideshow.
I'm sorry, wait, oh, view in slideshow, okay.
Go back to slideshow and then there was like a
see
resume.
View. Okay. It says normal on my screen.
No, the slideshow. Click on slideshow again.
Yep.
And then I guess from beginning. But there was another, and then resume slideshow. Or maybe we're seeing it on our side and you may not be seeing it on your
If
side.
you go to the lower right hand, the lower right hand, there are these little icons. And one of them, the one farthest to the right, will go into slides. Yes, that should do it.
Okay.
Did that
do
it?
Help? That do it?
No.
I have never.
But click on it. Click on the fourth one over. Click on the fourth one over she told you about.
Okay, can you see, I'm in Who is an Entrepreneur on my screen.
We're not seeing that. We're seeing Barbara's mission still.
Okay. Let me get out of this again. I am so sorry. I do this all the time and I've never had this problem.
Actually, Barbara, nothing to be sorry about. I'm so grateful for the pool of everybody's ability. It's wonderful.
You got it. Yay.
You did
it. Okay, so everyone's okay now? Are we back? Are we okay?
Thanks.
Yes, wonderful.
Okay, great. So we'll go back on mute. Okay, so I haven't really shown anything that was on my slides up to here. Was it really important to see? There's only one that's important. Okay, so we talked about the mission and purpose. Okay, so why do a business model canvas? You know, one of my biggest things when I'm teaching entrepreneurship at Columbia and Hofstra, and I share this process that what you're going to do is have, because only focus on the problem. I don't want to hear about your idea. I want to hear about the problem you're solving. Then I want you to put in pencil all your answers to these 9 questions. And then what I want you to do is go out and talk to at least 20 to 30 people who could help you, who could be a competitor, who could use your problem, and show them your answers to all these questions and see if they agree. Well, of course, the very first thing that everyone says to me, isn't somebody going to steal my idea? And I am sure that all of you who have established businesses know that absolutely no one can run your business the way you do, that the way that you are solving your problem is your own at the end of the day. But particularly in this environment where absolutely everything is changing, it is extremely important for you to be talking to as many people about what you are doing, what you should do, what is the innovation that you have done so far, and really get the impact to get things done and to really get the right answers. In the old days, people would sit in a room and write everything out and not do anything until they had written 40 or 50 pages. That is just not the way. And so what we love about the business model canvas is it's very simple, very shareable, it's flexible, it's changeable, and it absolutely starts with the idea of knowing your problem. One of the things that I really like to remind people is that the secret to a great company is less on searching for the answers and more on asking people the right questions. You will find out what you have to do as you come out of this problem by talking to your customers, by understanding what they are feeling, by talking to them. Just ask them, how are they doing? You want to connect with them and give them some positive emotion like hope, like peace, like joy, like belief in the future. And that is, in the end, what it really is about is you're trying to make your business essential. So the business model canvas very simply asks 5 big questions, which is what everyone should be asking. And it's also very common that sometimes people start a business and just start kind of intuitively doing things and pulling the pieces together. So I often find that business owners that have been in existence for 2 or 3 years may never have really stopped and asked themselves these basic questions to really understand what is the essence of your business. If you ask yourself these questions and get clear on your unique answers, you are becoming essential. So again, it starts with defining the problem. What is your problem? What are you really trying to do? Next is the customer. Then what exactly is the product and service? How does it create value? Then you should be going through exactly what your process is. What is unique about it? What is it that you do that you can guarantee a solution to the problem? And last, of course, is how do all the numbers fit together? So let's just go a little bit deeper. Now, this is the business model canvas. If you look at it, you in the document that Tencent sent to you, you'll download and you will get one page that looks like this. And you'll get another page that doesn't have the questions, that just have white boxes that say value proposition, customer relationships, customer segments, etc. So the idea is that you will be asking yourself these questions and scribbling, ideally with a pencil, your answers to each of these questions. And then you will take them out and show them to some of your customers, your employees, people who can help you to be sure that in this time, these are still the right answers to your questions. So again, when you start the business model canvas process, you turn it over, and on the back of this page, you write down the exact problem you are solving. Some examples of that is that if you're going into a hardware store to buy a drill, you're not really going into the hardware store to buy a drill. You're going into a hardware store to have the solution of how you're going to put a hole in the wall. If you look at Airbnb, when Airbnb first started, they were solving a problem that there was not enough rooms in San Francisco during one of the super high-tech conferences, and they ended up just wanting to offer air beds on people's floors, and that's why it was called Airbnb, air bed and breakfast, air bed, bread, breakfast. But they, of course, have now grown to solving totally new problems of helping people find house to stay with locals when they travel. They're now offering luxury homes. And so it's interesting to look at what exactly is the problem that they're solving now, which is really helping people to find housing in very, very many different ways and levels. So you start with thinking about what is the exact problem you are solving. You think about restaurants in your neighborhood. Those who opened first for takeout food, they saw themselves that they were solving the problem of serving great food easily to people who may be too busy or couldn't cook or didn't know or just didn't have the time. But if you start thinking about why people were going to a restaurant, you begin to think about what it is that you should be offering. If you were a higher end restaurant that was people were going for an experience, you found that as those restaurants came through this experience, some of them offered delivery people in tuxedos, offered throwing in drinks and alcohol and silverware, but they focused on the customer who came to their establishment. What exactly was the problem that your establishment is solving, and who exactly has it? So once you know what that problem is, then you go into that first spot, which is what do you do? How do you solve it? Again, going back to those examples, that if you are a restaurant who is catering to high-end people who are looking for an experience, the way you did home delivery of food had to be very different than if someone called to their local deli to get a pastrami sandwich delivered as they were on this lockdown. So again, thinking about your problem and the exact person that has it and why, what is the value? Why would someone come to you? And that again is a time now to really think about it, get clarity on it. The next question you hop over to is, who exactly do you help? Certainly in this crazy time, you have to rethink of your customer. You have to put yourself in your customer's shoes. Think about the kind of person. If you have a consumer product, think about the age, the sex, the education, the income level, etc., of the person who came to experience you before. Now that you can offer your experience online, or maybe you can't, rethinking the customer that could need you. Many men are having much more interaction with their children than they ever had. So if you have a service that has to do with children, you might have been focusing more on a female customer. That could drastically be changing in this environment. if you have something that you're selling to a business, you really have to start thinking about the person's title and position who you dealt with. Are they working at home? How has their life changed? What are they concerned of? How do you frame your service or product in a way that it's really going to help the person in their current situation? Cannot stress enough that this is the time to be hugging your customer, to really figuring out what's going on in their lives. Now, these next two boxes, how do you interact and how do you reach them, of course, has drastically changed. We have no idea how long this fear of people, as I call it, and this obsession with cleanliness, I think that's probably going to last a while, but hopefully this fear of people, this distance relationship, this remote, not touching experience has definitely changed the way that we interact with people and how we reach them. So let's just talk a little bit about reaching them. Reaching them has, really thinking about what did you do before to find your customer. Also, if you spend the time to think about who are your customers now, are there opportunities for new groups of customers, taking the time to figure out how you're going to find them is the first question. Second question is, how are you going to sell to them? If we're a shop that people loved coming in and you have to switch to online sales, really, what is the design of your website? It should somehow reflect the kind of experience that people had as they came into your shop. So how do you reach them? How do you find them? How do you sell to them? How do you then deliver your products to them? And then how do you do follow-up to make sure that they're happy, that you might have the potential of selling more? Time of tremendous interaction with people. The time kind of transactions of just quickly having something happen is really gone away. I even find when I pull up to gas stations now that many gas station attendants are far friendlier and recognizing and saying hello, which of course historically gas stations have been highly transactional. So again, how do you reach them? How do you find them? How do you sell to them? How are you going to deliver your product? And most important, how are you going to follow up? And in that follow-up, are there opportunities for you to have live conversations now, or Zoom conversations, surveys, to find, because people have the time, to find referrals, to find ideas on how your product can be improved. This also, of course, is how do you interact? Is it going to be totally through emails? Is it going to be through other social media platforms? Is it going to be through live phone calls? Now that things are opening up, is it going to be that you go to their homes? Can they come back to your shop? Thinking about how you react as you come out of this and move forward is the next critical question. And of course, the last question on that side of the canvas is, how will you make money going forward? Certainly finding ways to have repeat revenue, having someone come back to you often is going to be critical. I always talk to my students that you should think about whether what you're selling is a vitamin or a painkiller. People have a problem you're solving. Are you selling something that is a painkiller that's going to make the pain go away once they have it? Or are you selling something that's preventing the pain, a vitamin? You think about those two things. If you're selling a painkiller, people would tend to be willing to pay a lot more. But hopefully it's not something that you are going to have the opportunity, but unfortunately it's not something you're going to have the opportunity to sell over and over again. If it's something preventing the problem, this is a vitamin. This is something that you will be able to convince people that they have to stay with you, that they have to like come back to you regularly. And that certainly is a way that you get ongoing revenues. So again, when you're thinking about what you've done historically, maybe you were a painkiller. And so maybe you should think about if there's a way to add something to your product line that will prevent the problem, and vice versa. If you historically have been someone who's been preventing a problem, let's say like going to the gym or to prevent health kind of things, and there's also people who would be coming to the gym potentially to ease some of their pain. So thinking about this vitamin and painkiller, I think, is also a good way to on the revenue basis. So over on this, what we've talked about is rethinking how you interact with your customer. How do you make money? On the other side of the canvas is what we talk is the process and your infrastructure. So again, it's time to look at what you really have to do now. During this crisis, you probably stopped doing a lot of stuff. Maybe stop going out of your house, stop going into your office. It's time to think about whether that's something that you will stop doing forever. Will it come back? I'm sure there's things that you started doing. Many of us have gotten far more digitally savvy than we have in the past. And basically, just being able to think about what it is that you really have to do now. So again, ask yourself, what did I stop doing? Will it come back? What did I start doing? Is this something that I will continue? Is it something I should tweak? And now, is there something new that I should start doing? If I think about how the world is going to change as we emerge from this chaos, is there something new I should be doing? And what are the absolute things that I must do to keep my business going, to keep something relationship with my clients? So listing, what are those key activities? What must I do? What has to be done for me to keep having a business? Now, what do you need, I think, is a really good time now to look at this situation. Many of us lost revenues, but also many of our costs went away. If you're working at home, I'm sure you have far lower costs of you don't have utilities. You may have less people working for you. You may have less commuting costs. There's lots of costs that went away. So it's also time to look at what are the key resources that you really have to have as you go into this next phase, how you emerge from this chaos. What is it that's absolutely critical? Now, that would typically be to think about what people you need as you come out of this, what space and infrastructure you're going to need, what money you're going to need, and what kind of IP, intellectual property, creative things like websites do you need as you come out. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about, which I think is real, I see very much in my work in the last couple of months with small businesses, is really creative partnering. Really taking time first to look at some of your competitors. Should some of them possibly be partners that you aren't that close, but you might be able to do something together? Are there people who sell to your exact demographic? Are there things you could do together to create problems, to solve new problems? Have you looked at your customers? Are there customers who really could help you more that you haven't really reached out to? Particularly professionals. Do you need some help with some marketing ideas or legal help or some help with your numbers or whatever? Many of your professional clients or customers could be sitting at home and might happily like to feel useful and help you with creating something, maybe a marketing campaign to their friends or something. Really an important time to look at key partners. Certainly looking for programs like the Women Business Center. There is a tremendous amount of government programs and university programs and corporate programs that are now being developed to help small businesses. Many of them are geared to women, minorities, vets, disabled people. And so really spending time online to find help for you right now, because there is an amazing amount of people and partners who really would like to do that. And again, as I said before, time to look again at your costs. So this, I hope, has helped you. Again, it is a simple model that is you can spend a lot of time, or you can take a morning and just scribble it in. One of my mantras are that all of us can get something done and make a change in our lives if we start thinking about it. But if we take the time to put things in writing, and if it goes up about 100%, but if we take the time to actually talk to other people about the changes we want to make, we will get support. We will get some accountability. We will get the help to virtually guarantee that it will get done. So I do hope that you found this business model helpful. In the third part of this series, I will build on what I call the one-page business plan, which will take all of these kind of ideas and themes that we're talking about, and I will show you how very easily you can create for yourself and your employees and your stakeholders a one-page statement of really what is your mission, what is your vision of where you're going to, what are your goals, and how you're going to do it. So I hope you found this helpful, and I will open it now for any questions about the business model canvas. We have about 15 minutes, so if you have other kinds of questions that you want to throw out to me or the other participants on the call, if you're stuck on something, we are here to help you. So please, do I have any questions?
Barbara, thank you so much for this this overview. So I'll definitely be taking action on this.
Thank you, Janelle. Good to see you here. Excellent.
This is awesome. Something that really spoke to me was the vitamin versus the painkiller analogy that really tuned in.
It's one of my favorite things. I'm sure I plagiarized that from someone. So I give credit to some, but I don't remember where it was. But it is one of my favorite things. If you're talking about pain and problems, so where did that lead you, Janelle?
Yeah, because my focus is working with parents who are preparing to have children, right?
Absolutely.
And so I'm helping parents avoid the pain of losing a child or not being able to start their family, as well as helping to avoid a host of short-term and long-term issues. When it comes to like speaking to those, do you find there's more value in speaking to one first, like one that captures a person faster? Like, I'm going to talk about your pain, make sure that you're aware that you have a pain as well as the vitamin, or start with the pros than the con? Like,
well, I'm a firm believer that you never speak until you ask a lot of questions. So how do you usually present? What is your first? Let's go back. This goes back to the question of really how are you going to interact with your customers at this time? So, what is kind of your chain of connections with your clients? How do you find them? What information do you have before you have your first conversation? What are your first 1 or 2 steps?
I'm now moving into a space of doing more like out-front advertising, because up until now it's been a lot of word of mouth. And so the people who've come to me have been primarily the same kind of people, forward thinking, preconception oriented.
Yeah.
And so that's a language that they already speak.
Okay, so do you have two offerings, Janelle? Do you have a program that if someone comes to you, it would definitely raise the likelihood of a healthy child and an avoidance of the problem? Or do most people come to you once they know they have a difficult situation with a child?
It's like 50-50.
Well, I think you got to find, you probably have to have two total offerings.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Even though the work that's being done is pretty much the same in both programs, give a different title.
I think there's different languages. Let me see. Let's take let's go to another medical kind of thing. Let's go to like a dentist situation. Certainly many of us go to dentists to have our teeth cleaned and have x-rays, and then we also, of course, will go to a dentist situation when we have a horrible toothache. I think there's ways to, I know some people probably don't go to a dentist until they have a horrible toothache, and then a dentist would have the opportunity to present at the conclusion of the toothache treatment that maybe they should come back more often for pain prevention. But you also, I think the dentist also, during teeth cleaning and whatever, probably, I don't know, sometimes might have to be a little subtle that if you had a major problem like a root canal or something, that they also were capable of helping you with the bigger pain. So I think there's sort of a subtle kind of almost cross-selling and making sure that people understand that you're capable or you have services in both situations. And even this vitamin painkiller might even give you a model for your language of how you speak to your clients now, Janelle.
Okay, because it's definitely something that I'm looking to expand the conversation more, speaking with men, because men are rarely brought into the conversation and they account for 40% of infertility, but it's rarely a conversation.
They never think it's their fault.
Yeah, and we don't invite them into the conversation, right?
Yeah.
So create language around that. Okay, I appreciate it.
We'll be. Janelle, you want to say you're in our new peer group. Do you want to give a couple of sentences on the experience so far for those who might be considering coming into our new group?
It's a beautiful opportunity to connect with other female business builders. Rarely are you in a space, do I find that I'm in a space with other business builders where we get to have like vulnerable conversation about where we are in our business right now, getting immediate feedback on some actions we can take, or just getting asked the right question to get us to think about doing a different thing than we've been doing. And then also consistent like touch points with other teammates day to day as well as every other week. So it's been really awesome so far.
Yeah, thank you, Gina. You remind me that the key points is it's lonely running a business, and even lonelier now for many of us. And my mantra is that the only people who really can understand how a woman, I like your business builder, I like that language, feels is by being in a group with other women business builders. So you can find maybe other resources for business owners and builders, but women, there's another aspect to issues and challenges, and it certainly is fun to be sharing that and those experiences. I see a question off to the side about how to use the BMC developed pricing strategy and where does this fit in the interviewing process. Just to maybe go a little deeper dive on how we use this. And there's two experiences I can talk about. One, there's something called a startup weekend. And then we also, at many business schools, have what's called a launch week. And also Sprint, Google actually has a book out called Sprint, which is a 5-day program on how you use something like the business model canvas. So basically the way this would start is on a startup weekend on the Friday night, people just show up and everyone would publicly state the problem that they want to solve. Then we put all those problems up on the board and we vote, and the 20 problems or the 10 problems that have the most votes, we then say these are the ones we're going to solve. People have a few minutes to find 3 or 4 other people whose problem wasn't solved to join their team. And then the next morning, they do the first kind of drawing of the business model canvas. They have 3 hours to go out and use the business model canvas for interviews. And you're absolutely correct in highlighting that one of the questions that they would ask in those interviews is, would you be willing to pay for this? And how would you pay for it? And so again, this goes back to even the little bit of the pain vitamin conversation that we have. So if you were going out to do a business model canvas, talk to customers, and one of your questions would be, is this a problem you have? And how do you solve it now? How important is it to you? And you're getting a sense of the degree of importance, the degree of pain, and you ask people what would they pay for it. If it's going down a vitamin route, then you're asking people what would they pay to prevent the problem. So thank you for highlighting that. In actual fact, the business model canvas can be very, very helpful in asking customers exactly what they would pay. Now, I also will share with you that we say that people have to you have to speak to 10 to 20 human beings who can give you some information about what you're going to offer. So this also can be, you can pretend to be a customer and go into a competitor's organization to find out their pricing. So you also can, use this process to just pretend you're the customer of one of your competitors and find out what they would charge and what exactly they would offer, and that can also help you solve your problem. We often, actually at Columbia, we often say that that if somebody gets thrown out of some place by a security guard, they get an automatic A in the course, because it means that they were really pushing to find out an answer to what they were trying to solve. So that would be the way that you would use the business model canvas to get some help on pricing. So any other questions I can help with today?
Barbara, it's Keisha.
Yeah, hi Keisha, how are you today?
I'm very well, thanks. And thank you again for this. I'm so glad I'm here. So my question is, I have like a general idea. So let's say somebody who starts in the physical wellness, health and well-being coach. What happens is I don't have the formalities or don't know where to go for the formalities in which to set up an organization like that, to know what those formal organization are. Where does one go to find out where those parameters live?
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean by a formal organization, Keisha. What are you looking for exactly?
So as I am a physical instructor, a yoga teacher, all of that sort of, I don't know what is considered, like, where would one go to build the infrastructure for that? So rules and regulations, certifications, what qualifies an expense? What qualifies as a, do you know what I'm saying? Those basic building parts to compile the whole picture of your whole industry and how to be accountable for all of those areas.
Okay, so I think there's a couple of questions in there. I think there's one, just how does a business owner generally find advisors who can help them with?
And I don't even think you would go to an advisor yet. Like I know the Department of Labor has some general rules or parameters in which whatever industry you're in, let's say you know, it could be opening up a gym or opening up a grocery store. What are some of these bullet point parameters or guidelines
Okay.
in
I mean,
which?
Keisha, this is a huge question that I,
Okay.
and of course I could get more deeper, but just to do some general kind of things. Okay, I think I already have about 50 layers in the way you frame the question. I mean, one is, how do you find out how to start a business? Well, first off, I believe Googling to me is amazing. And I'm sure that in 5 minutes working with you, I could help you Google just about every answer to the question. But the other day, I just found an article. Okay, these are the 10 things that you have to do to make your business legal. It's a checklist of 10 things you have to do. If you go online and ask yourself, I'm sure you can Google, okay, I want to start a physical, a yoga business. I mean, you go online. I'm sure there's associations of yoga owners. If you're talking about labor laws, then there's certainly understanding independent contractors. If you Google independent contractors, you can find the checklist for that. So you and I know, will be working together a little bit more in the group, but my first recommendation is plug in your question on Google, and I guarantee you will be on your way to find the right solutions. I find it's just incredible what help you can find if you just ask your question on Google. Okay.
Yes.